stunning looks than swift.
Well, the next 4 games will be decisive in the fate for the semi-finals and perhaps even more with the Champions Trophy places up at stake. And while we are eagerly awaiting 1v2 in India, South Africa on Sunday, New Zealand, Pakistan and Australia, England in a delicious doubleheader on Saturday, let's not rule out that Netherlands and Afghanistan still remain alive in the race to the semi-finals. So that is where we build up in what will be the last game at the Ekana Stadium in Lucknow. That's been much talked about for a number of reasons, but Afghanistan-Netherlands should be a contest that gives us plenty to discuss. We build up to that. We also try and establish trends and patterns as we now approach round 7 and 8 of the league stage. We could see the end of the World Cup now, and it's hotting up with the way India are playing. So on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. It's a very good afternoon to Stephen Harmison and Dasgupta, who I have paired together for the first time, I think, in this tournament. You two go back a while, don't you?
I think we did play against each other.
I think so,
yeah. The 2000.
Do you recognize
long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
Do you recognize him?
Yeah, he looks a little bit better than what I look when I was there. Yeah. I've eaten the player that I played with 20 years.
That was not where I was going. That was not where I was going.
That's what happens with fast bowling.
No, that was not where I was going. You know that, huh? All right. This is a game that has plenty riding on it, I would think, because Afghanistan and Netherlands Army have developed the reputation of beating the big boys. But when they come up against each other, I'm not quite sure what the motivational sentiment is, since both teams would consider themselves favourites for a change.
Yeah, you look at the two names on paper, you go, it's not going to be a great game. I actually think this is going to be a great game. This could be the game, one of the games of the tournament, because of not just what's riding on it, but there's so much. Afghanistan has still got an outside chance of semi-final, and they've won the last sort of 2 or 3 games they've won against big boys. It's like the emotions of Afghanistan's cricket that goes up and down, up and down. Will they come down against one of the smaller, what they perceive to be one of the smaller nations?
Yeah.
Can they get in the same mindset to play in likes of England and South Africa and teams that they've played before? So I think that's mentally there's a big challenge for Afghanistan. For the Netherlands, well, they're one win. They're one win, and then potentially in the Champions Trophy in 2 years' time. So leading into this tournament, spoke to a lot of the Netherlands players, and they talk about the sort of pathway for the next generation and making sure that we have got 50-over cricket, we've got ODI cricket, but we need major tournaments to be contested, to move Netherlands cricket on.
Yeah, I mean, the funding comes in as a result of that. You inspire more
sport
people.
now.
It's an Olympic sport,
So you get more funding being an Olympic sport. But I think the biggest challenge for Netherlands would be, you have the experience of playing fast bowling. But where do you get the experience of playing spin and quality spin of Russia? I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. But with Netherlands, like you said, it seems like they're on a mission here. And that mission is not just about cricket, it's a bigger mission. And I think that's what galvanized this team and kind of motivated to kind of achieve things that maybe a lot of us didn't think they would.
Yeah. It's an extraordinary story, the fact that they managed to oust both Zimbabwe and the West Indies in the qualifiers just to be here. And they didn't just come here to make up the numbers. They've beaten South Africa, who, over time, we can now establish as clearly the second best team of the tournament. Who knows? Maybe they will beat India. Good luck to them on that. But as we look at remaining fixtures for both sides, it's one thing to discuss the bigger picture in the Champions Trophy. They're still alive in the semi-finals. And funnier things have happened in this sport. It's happened in World Cup cricket. We go back to 2003 in Kenya. There were a number of situations that mitigated those results that led to Kenya making the semi-finals. Afghanistan play the Netherlands today. Then they've got 2 real toughies, you'd think, in Australia and South Africa, who may at that point have either already qualified. South Africa certainly look good at that. Australia need to do some work. And if you look at the Netherlands and their remaining fixtures too, they've got Afghanistan today, they've got the big one, they've got India at the end. But who knows, maybe India will rest a few players in Bangalore, having already comfortably not just qualified but maybe even secured top spot. And they've got England and Pune, which Stephen Harmison is very worried about since he's been here. Realistically, is there a chance for the semi-final, or who has the better chance for the semi-final? I'll just look at the points table too in a second, because I think Afghanistan can still go to 12 if they win all their games. It starts today.
I think Afghanistan have got the best chance for the semi-final. One thing I will say, if they get to the semi-final with the fixtures they've got left, you'd fancy them to go on and win it, because of the amount of positivity that would come from playing them two fixtures after this one. I'd love to see. I'm torn a bit. I want to see Afghanistan win because I want to see them put pressure on Pakistan, New Zealand, and Australia. But I also want to see the Netherlands win because I want to see put pressure on England, because that means England tomorrow have got to go and beat Australia, and then they've got to go and beat the Netherlands to just qualify for the Champions Trophy.
Yeah, just remember number 8 over there is where we're interested here, because Pakistan, if they finish in the top 8, which you resume, then you need Pakistan plus the top 7.
Next 3 games can be so interesting. There's a possibility post-Saturday we could have 4 teams on 8.
Yes, yes.
Right, so that makes it so much interesting, the next 3 games today and a couple of games tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, I think could be a deciding factor the next couple of days.
All right. Well, you know, there's so much to like about the Dutch, and none more so than the stories that each of their individuals have. Just before we get you an update on the toss at the Lucknow Stadium, let's hear from Paul van Meekeren, who has been a highlight for the Dutch side, leading their pace bowling attack, and he's a bit of a hit on social media too, given everything he had to endure in order to just be in a position to play cricket, and we caught up with him recently.
After the game, I think there was some footage of me jumping around and celebrating with the crowd, so obviously we were super excited. And when we got back to the hotel, we had a few drinks with some friends and family. But after that, the South Africa game was behind us, and we were fully focused on Sri Lanka. And again, I think that shows where we are as a national team, where we are as a team that, you know, in the past, again, it would have been, okay, we won the game, we did what we had to do at this World Cup, and, you know, we try and write and talk about the game for a long time, but we parked it and we set our sights on Sri Lanka. It would either be, I probably think it would be Daryl Mitchell, because he was against New Zealand, because he looked like he started to attack the short boundary. He played a few shots before that, which looked like they were really trying to start getting into that end phase and accelerating, and that slower ball just came out perfectly and sort of did him all ends up. So I think that was the most satisfying wicket. I think it just shows the level of cricket. If you want to play, you say, you know, I mean, I think most of the guys in the Dutch team have the ambition to play in the IPL and PSL and the other big franchise leagues, and it shows, you know, you just can't afford to bowl a half okay delivery. Every delivery that you bowl has to be on the mark, otherwise you just go the distance. So I think it just shows the quality of cricket you have to play and the level of cricket you have to play at to make a chance of making sort of the franchise cricket, which is obviously sort of the new ecosystem in cricket, I guess. I think there will be definitely a bit of a buzz around boys and hopefully also girls that see what we're doing as a team and want to be part of that success, and hopefully that motivation can spark a generation that will outperform our team like we are outperforming the teams from the past. I mean, looking back, the team I played for 10 years ago and now, it's completely day and night culture-wise and performance-wise, and there's no reason why guys in 5 or 10 years' time can't take the game in the Netherlands or of the national team to another new level, where, you know, they come to a tournament like this and just win 4 or 5 games without being a surprise.
Paul van Meekeren, nice to hear from him, and he's going to have a part to play here, because toss news from Afghanistan is that it's been won by Hashmatullah Shahidi. They'll bat first, so let's just have a look at teams as well. And Afghanistan, they are on a high. They can seriously get to 12. That journey starts here. And the fact that they left out Noor Ahmed after he had the game that he did against Pakistan to then play the extra seamer and Fazalak Farooqi in Pune, That worked wonders too. And given Farooqi was as good as he was, picked up a 4-4. They persisted with him. Naveen Ulaq goes out. In comes Noor Ahmaddeep. I guess it tells us something about the surface at Lucknow, where we last saw India play England, and the team that Afghanistan have gone with, which is very spin heavy.
It is. I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, the pitch, as you mentioned, and also the fact that what I was talking about, someone like Netherlands, they would have faced quick bowlers or seamers. Maybe not of the same quality, but they would have had that idea. But playing spin, and that to wrist spin, it's not easy for even the top teams or highly rated teams and stuff like that. But even for someone who doesn't, or batters who haven't had that experience, that could be quite challenging. And also the fact that Azmat bowling the way he has been in the last couple of games, I think would have given them some confidence that they can go in with two seamers and obviously Mujib to bowl with a new ball.
Yeah, their choice to bat first. I wonder if it's influenced by what we saw between India and England, given that it's a spin-heavy attack. India's seamers did the damage second half, and Afghanistan, I thought, were growing in confidence as a chasing team. They decided to bat first here in Lucknow. Maybe the spinners
Netherlands won the toss and they are batting first.
Have I got that right? Let me just check that.
Yeah, Netherlands are batting
Netherlands
All right,
are batting
thank you
first.
for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. I followed a different graphic, but yeah, okay, the Netherlands are batting, so that makes sense then.
Yeah, that makes sense that the Netherlands want to put a score on the board and then try and squeeze and try and contain the game. The Netherlands had, for me, they had to make changes. Their 1 and 2 were not working. Vikram Singh and Max O'Dowd, it just wasn't working. They weren't getting the numbers that they were getting leading into the tournament. So that was, for me, was a change. They've gone for a couple more.
Baresi will open now.
A couple more all-rounders in there as well. So I think that's more of a balanced side. And Rudolf van der Merwe coming back into the side from an experience point of view has helped. But I think suits both sides that the Netherlands bat first. Afghanistan really enjoyed chasing.
Yeah, they've got Saqib Zulfikar back, who played only the opening game against Pakistan, didn't feature since, and it could have been a real toss-up between Max O'Dowd and Vikramjit Singh as to who misses out. I'm not sure you can make a strong case for one over the other, but they've left out Vikramjit and stuck with Max O'Dowd.
I think the Max O'Dowd one is his potential to get you off to a good start. I think is what's probably tipped the balance. They could easily have gone heads or tails. Easily heads or tails. They've both been as poorly as each other. But I think the Max O'Dowd X factor of his strike rate, as well as, I know his strike rate's down on there, but
I'm not quite sure about that graphic, because I'm not sure they got 52 50s and 1800s between them. So let's leave that out.
But the way he plays, if he comes off, I think that was probably why they took a punt over O'Dowd than Vikram Singh potentially in that first power play.
Yes, well, it is what it is regarding the teams that they've gone with. They've got to now get the job done and bat first, which they've seemed to have grown in confidence with as well, the Dutch. But it gives us some time as we approach round 8 to actually understand whether these tosses are proving to be an advantage for teams winning it. Funny enough, in this World Cup, winning the toss has almost reduced your chances significantly of winning the game, which is not what we thought about a World Cup in India, Deep. We thought World Cup in India, dew will come in, tosses will become crucial. Let's dig up some numbers as we have a chat with Deep Dasgupta, Steve Harmison, who followed this tournament very closely and its trends and patterns. Teams that win the toss and bat first have a win rate of 23%. It wasn't the trend early on. It started becoming one as the tournament got into, say, round 2 or 3. But yet, it's not worked for the teams that actually bat first and win the toss. Teams that decide to chase have a win rate of 30%, which means winning the toss overall in this tournament gives you only a 27% chance of win. That has nothing to do with whether batting first or batting second is any advantage, because as we enter game 33 now, it's almost split evenly, 17 to 16, which is quite baffling. I don't know what it means to you. It's not like chasing is a big advantage like it was in the UAE, or batting first could be a big advantage. It's just winning the toss is just not working. Who wants to take that?
Okay, let me start first. I think quite a few of those decisions, as in after winning the toss, were pretty doubtful as well. I mean, I still remember that Sri Lanka a couple of games ago, not the last one, even the last one for that matter, at Wankhede.
Yeah, they put India in.
Exactly so. And the one before that as well, where they got only 241.
That was the Afghanistan game.
Yeah, England as well. England had a shocker with the toss.
England as well. So, I mean, some of those decisions... Because the other important thing is, like you said, initially I can understand the first couple of rounds where as a team, and especially overseas teams, you're looking, there would be dew and all. Yeah. But then you suddenly realize it isn't such a big factor, the dew. And also, if it does kind of start forming it, the effect is around 8:30. And the other interesting thing was, I mean, how many games have we had where all 100 overs have been played? I mean,
very few.
We've not had many close contested games going into the last. So with 15 overs to go, this is the 34th game, and 15 overs to go at 33, you're probably looking at 90% of games have been.
Exactly.
We know where the winner's going to be when the dew comes in. So it seems as though teams don't want to field in the midday sun, but then when they come to bat in that sort of twilight, going out first 10 overs, yes, it's a power play. You've got to go hard at the power play. But actually, that's when it's been doing a bit with the ball from a seamer's point of view.
Exactly.
Seen last night, that was devastating last night.
And you would have conceded 300 plus.
Exactly.
So you need to go hard
so you need
in
to
that
go
tough
hard.
period.
And when you go hard and the ball's moving, so it seems to be one of them, you get to the toss and when it goes up, heads or tails, you say neither. You just when it comes to call, you just don't want to win the toss. You let somebody else make the decision and let them make the mistake, and you sort of benefit from that. But it's so baffling that how a toss in a competition has got no relevance to the game's outcome, and not many World Cups have been like that.
Yes.
20 World Cup in Australia, that was win the toss, win the game. England was a little bit like that in 2019. So this
that UAE World Cup was purely just that. You know, the one that was won by Australia. And as we look at just the toss results team-wise, for how lucky or fortuitous teams have been, doesn't really matter, does it? Because Sri Lanka and England have won 4 tosses, which is joint highest with New Zealand. It doesn't quite help with the matches won. And India have only won 2 tosses, as it turns out of 7. And they've won everything so far. So I guess the question is whether players actually carry some kind of burden mentally or psychologically if the team happens to win the toss. And you're told by your captain you're batting first, so you now have the pressure of getting, or you're told by the captain we're going to bowl first, so there's the pressure of we can't let this game go to 350, 360. But when you lose the toss, somehow that pressure is alleviated and teams seem to be performing better. If you're winning only 30% of your games after winning the toss, that means 70% of teams are winning when they don't have to really think about the toss being in their mind.
I get that, and I would say in Test cricket, I would say there's more pressure on the toss. If you win the toss and bowl first in Test cricket, you're expecting to have the team at least 3 down by lunchtime.
Yes, we've known high-profile incidents in Test cricket in your part of the world.
But it doesn't seem to be that in one-day cricket or in T20 cricket that the toss is as pressurised on the team that wins it to go out and be the one that drives the game. But it seems in here that the mistakes that have been made at the toss, and possibly it is, you win the toss, you bat first, you've got to go and score big because teams are very good now in modern one-day cricket to chase. But it just seems as though when you're doing that, they're the ones that make the mistake.
So has this been a good World Cup then, in that sense, from India as far as Indian conditions go for some sort of balance when it comes to batting first?
True, and it from that perspective, yes, and also the different kinds of surfaces that we've played on. We've played on surfaces where the ball's turned, surfaces where it's gone through, played on 260 surfaces, we played on 350 surfaces. So I think, and most of the teams have played on at least 4 to 5 different venues. So they've had those different kind of conditions to deal with, and to take that conversation forward in terms of conditions. I think a lot of the teams, they were expecting a certain kind of condition here in India, and then suddenly you realize, no, it's not the same. So dew isn't a big factor, pitches aren't turning as much, or certain venues where you were thinking, for example, Lucknow, God, it could turn a lot, it hasn't. Then surfaces like Delhi should be low and slow, suddenly Delhi surfaces are different. So I think it's taken a while for the teams to also kind of come to understand these conditions a little better.
And that comes down to selection as well. You could pick a team for a turning pitch, it doesn't turn, and you've got the wrong bowlers, and all of a sudden because you've got them bowlers, you have to use them, and then the pressure comes on, and I think that's a culminating factor in the way this World Cup's gone, especially for some of the big boys, is that they put themselves under pressure. Rather than the opposition put themselves under pressure. And I think that comes down with toss, team selection, and then the pressure of performance as well.
I mean, it's not given us a lot of close games, which you tend to sort of want as a fan or a neutral to judge whether a World Cup's been a fun World Cup or a good World Cup. But just in terms of the sporting standard, it's been a World Cup, I think the anomaly here is that nobody, perhaps even India's most optimistic fans, did not expect India to be so good.
Yeah.
And even the most cynical England fans did not expect England to be so bad.
Yeah.
So there have been some almost anomalies that have resulted in perhaps one-sided games.
So is it also fair to say, and question for both of you, is the difference has increased in terms of, you know, having only one-dimensional skill set, which is power hitting, which obviously you increase as you start playing more and more of T20, and the softer skills, which you need for 50 overs. So let's look at 2019 World Cup. Obviously, pitches were a lot truer, and you could actually hit through the line. So those skill set, as in power hitting, were more
conducive to that World Cup and its conditions.
And now suddenly, 4 years down the line, you need a lot more softer skills in these conditions. And unfortunately, last 4 years, you haven't played a lot of 50-over ODI cricket, and you've predominantly played T20. So I don't know whether that gulf is increasing between T20 skill set and maybe some of the other softer skills.
But I think it means you've got to be a balanced all-round. The balanced all-round player is the one that's coming to the fore. You look at the teams who have done well so far in this tournament. Something like South Africa, for example, they've got a player in the first 20 overs to play 2020 cricket in Quentin de Kock, and they've got two players, if not three players, in the last 20 overs to play 2020 cricket in Meekeren, Klassen and Miller. And the way they've stepped their game up is, as long as de Kock's there, we've got somebody to go, then we'll build the rest of it to get to that last 20 overs. I think the best teams in this tournament so far are the ones that have had a game plan, the ones that have had a formula. And I think the reason why these two sides who are playing today have won 2 and 3 games. Afghanistan's got a game plan. Jonathan Trott's got a simple game plan with these guys. Scott Edwards got a simple game plan with these guys in the Netherlands. And I think because of that, maybe it's the sides that have come in who have been more dominant in one-day cricket leading into it, who probably haven't thought of, you might need 350 on one day, but 225. England chased 225 against the best team in the competition. Fell 100 runs short. If you haven't got a game plan, if you haven't thought it out properly, and your skill sets aren't as tip-top as what they should be, then you'll come unstuck. And I think that's for me, that's one of the points of this World Cup. The teams that have been successful are the ones that have had a plan. The teams that haven't and just played off the cuff and played off the top of their heads have fallen by the wayside. Sri Lanka have done that. Pakistan have done that at times, and England have definitely done that.
Yeah, to just almost merge the two observations the two of you made, the lack of a plan from teams that haven't done well, and perhaps connected to that is not relying as much on the soft skills that Deep points out. Because this World Cup, while we may think the 2019 World Cup was more about power hitting, six hitting, it's not like the sixes and the power hitting games and the scores have gone down. So if we now look at we just take this to another conversation, which is very interesting regarding six hitting and where that stands for the 2023 World Cup. Given you're seeing the Indian seam attack do as well, and we're seeing some low scores now make a game out of it, you think, all right, maybe the overall numbers for the big hits are going to go down. That's not going to happen, right? So we knew this from the start of the tournament. In India, you will get runs. You will get big shots. So you already have 427 sixes, gents, in 33 games, which is well on course to breaking the record, given that we also have a lot of games still in Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore. Can't see how that record doesn't get broken for the most sixes. But there is a method, I guess, to the six hitting still being relevant, which somehow England have not identified, but India and South Africa, I guess, have.
Yeah, I think when it comes to England, I guess the biggest challenge is, like you said, having a plan B. So you have a plan for a 350 kind of a surface, 360, but what if you get a 270 surface? That makes the role of someone like a Joe Root and David Malan that much more important. And unfortunately for someone like England, Joe Root hasn't fired at all, because he's one of those guys who has that, the softer skills, who could play those, 30 overs, get to 120, kind of play that sheet anchor role. And that's it. And you talk about that method behind that madness. Yes, I mean, there will be sixes, because obviously, I mean, that aspect of batting has developed so much in the last few years. So that's not surprising. But you've got to, again, those would be the cherry on the top. But I think the major chunk of it would be the softer skills, rotating strike, getting boundaries. So that's where, teams like let's say South Africa has done so well.
Yeah, let's look at their six hitting while you're making that point. Yeah, South Africa right up there in terms of the most sixes. But yeah, Deep, I mean, I'm trying to think, is this all down to Quinton de Kock's form?
To a certain extent, yes, but let's not forget Meekeren, that 40 ball 100, then Klaassen, whatever, the 46, 47 ball 100. But again, the plan that Harmison was talking about, you know, it's the fact that the first 20, 30 overs, for example, Quinton de Kock's last innings,
was less than a run a ball.
Was less than a run a ball. So I think they've got a plan there, saying, you know what, we're going to try and stay there and create that platform for the number 4, 5, 6, or even 5, 6. Meekeren didn't come at 4 because they really had a good start. They sent in Klaassen and Miller before Meekeren. So I think they've got a plan and say, you know what, we'll play a natural game, but won't go all out, and still try and create a platform, let's 30 overs, let's say 160, 180, and then take off from there.
Yeah, we saw that list of 6 hitters. We'll just also look at the most sixes for a player. And you're going to find Rohit Sharma up top. This has become the most prolific 6 hitter in international cricket. But as we just look at that and the numbers that came up before this, as far as the teams that are doing well, anything else that you want to add? From
I would say the power hitting in 2019, there was a lot of sixes, but were hit by everybody. In this tournament, they're hit by a select few. So I would say there's less players hit sixes more times over the course of the whole 2019 tournament, where in England you just let rip, and it literally could go over third man, it could go fine leg with the pace on the ball, so on the true pitches. So I think from that point of view, the teams are getting their 6 hitting players in a position to hit the sixes, and I think that is the difference. And comes back to the plan that we talked about, the method that they're building innings is at. But the England one is weird, because when you look at the England side, 6 months, 8 months before the World Cup, their plan and their method was six hitting at the top, Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow. Once you take Jason Roy out of it, the top just completely changes. Joe Root in the last 2, I feel a little bit for Joe, because Joe Root got run out, wasn't really his fault, and then got pinned on the crease by Jasprit Bumrah, first ball, which could happen to anybody. Then all of a sudden he's had 2 innings where he's faced half a dozen balls, and he's not had a chance to sort of build that innings where the team builds around him. So, but that's just England's look at this minute in time. But I think the six hitting in this tournament has been hit by the select few, and not in 2019 by everybody.
So the best players or the top batters are now hitting a higher percentage of the sixes in this tournament, whereas that was more or less spread across on a more even basis in 2019 in England. Very interesting that. Make your own observations of it, but we're seeing high scores, and yet we're seeing teams not quite nail what seems to be at times a traditional way to play 50-over cricket, and yet get scores in excess of 300. Like India have comfortably got a 350 odd yesterday, and we've seen that with South Africa too, and they are the standout teams. Will we see something like that today, though, between the Netherlands and Afghanistan? The Netherlands are known to get the big first innings score. They try and get a decent enough score and then choke the game, or try and choke the opposition with what clearly seems to be a good bowling lineup. We believe it's the same surface as the India-England game. They've got something about their seamers as well, the Dutch, don't they? They can make a game out of this even with a subpar score.
Because I think they've got quality and also the discipline. I think they've been extremely good. I mean, they're sticking to their strengths, not trying anything different from what they are good at. And there's some really good quality as well, whether it's Logan Van Beek, whereas Meekeren, and especially Aryan Dutt, that off spin. I think I really, really like him. I just hope he gets opportunity to play some red ball cricket as well. But I mean, obviously
that's impressive. That's impressive, isn't it? I mean, look at seamers. They take those numbers.
God, I'm sure Basilide will find an IPL team, and not just IPL, some franchise cricket as well. Because
Meekeren was saying that's what we aspire for. We want to play.
That's what they want to do. They do want to do it. Basilide is an interesting one, because he plays at my home club, Durham, where I played for 20 years. And in the middle of the summer, when it came to go to Harare for the qualifying, there was a lot of first-class counties wouldn't let their Dutch players go and play.
They almost had 6 or 7 players that weren't released.
Basilide signed his contract with Durham with a clause in the contract that he had to go to Harare. He wanted to play for Holland. He wanted Holland to get the Netherlands to get to India, and he wanted to be lead figure in that. And fair play to him. He's done that. He's done that brilliantly.
Brilliant, yeah. And you could see the results. He wouldn't be regretting his decision to have the experience that he did first in Zimbabwe and then come here and beat the likes of South Africa and Bangladesh. Also, their pace attack could come in handy here. Afghanistan have gone spin heavy. Netherlands are always centered around their pace attack. And at Lucknow, what Deep said, a lot of teams came with the impression that spin is the way to go in Lucknow and overplay your spin. Pacers have done well. And that's what Shami showed in the last game. Bumrah too, when India played England. The Pacers had quite a big say even when the earlier games here with Australia playing South Africa. And you're going to see an average of 26 for the Pacers, 32 for the spinners. There are a lot of wickets there, 39 wickets as to 23. The overs, that percentage is usually stacked in favour of the seamers, but it's not that much of a difference here.
I think, that, like I said right at the very top, I think this is going to be a great game of cricket because you're going to see two different ways of trying to win a cricket match. And that, for me, could make a fantastic game.
Yeah, I hope I'm not put the curse on it. But yes, as we now see the Dutch batters walk out, let's get a quick first innings prediction from Stephen Harmison and Deep Dasgupta.
I'm going to go with 260 again. But 260, I'd say.
Two sneezes cancels it. 260 for the Dutch gives us a good game. You think this could be a good game?
Yeah, I think it could be a good game. I think 250 plus gives the Dutch a chance. So yeah, I'm going to go 250, 255.
All right, thank you very much to Deep Dasgupta and Stephen Harmison. We see where this game stands at half-time on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. Download the mobile app if you haven't already, and that'll have you covered with everything that's happening, including some team news from New Zealand. We've got Kyle Jameson in for Matt Henry, and that's a big double-header at Bangalore and Ahmedabad tomorrow. So we'll have you covered there. We'll see you at the end of the Dutch innings.
Stunning looks, then swift,